Welcome back to the ADCC Update Show. I think this is episode 3. We're coming off of the heels of ADCC East Coast Trials. I'm Trey. We got Reed, Corey, Joe. We're going to break down a little bit of the action, what we saw, kind of what interests us, all that. So you guys want to, just overall, you want to give some thoughts on the event and everything? I mean, crazy event. Absolutely insane crowd. Everyone was crowded around the mats and stuff. Made for a chaotic, fun environment for sure. What do you guys think?
Yeah, this is what ADCC and ADCC Trials especially should look like, right? It was just chaos. It was carnage. There was not a single match where I was looking at it like, all right, move it along. Like every match was just a fireball. You saw, guys going off the mat, suplexes near the edge of the mat, submissions left and right. This is the kind of energy we expect from ADCC, and this first trial is delivered. I'm excited for the next one.
Yeah, I think it was Grappling Scout, right? Is that the name of the account on Reddit who post the analytics breakdown usually? I think it's Grappling Scout. Could be wrong, but they posted that there was like 61% submission rate at trials, which is pretty epic, obviously. So that's like, if you're watching a match, there's greater than a 50-50 chance it's going to end in a sub. Kind of bonkers, to be honest.
How much of day one was just guys who we recognize going out and just smashing people up and getting like 30-second submissions, 1-minute submissions, less than 30-second submissions sometimes?
Yeah, no, this is definitely, like you said, this is what ADCC this is what you pay the ticket for sure. I think there's like maybe 1,500 people there who were there that weekend, 2,000 people, and what a special, just tournament, special treat the whole weekend was. If you were there kind of watching, I think it was extra special. Obviously, everybody watching at home got to see some crazy matches, crazy quick submissions, a lot of young cats, coming out of the woodwork and stamping their ticket to ADCC. I think you really get a sense of what the North American scene really looks like at ADCC. The energy, everything. Yeah, incredible weekend for sure.
So I guess we could just start going division by division, breaking down some of the stuff we saw, the standouts, obviously who won everything. But you guys want to start at 66? What kind of stood out to you? Obviously, Dorian Olivares ended up your 66-kilogram champion, 17-year-old kid. He's from Houston. Incredible wrestling. And just, dude, this guy put a relentless pace on every single person he went up against. That kind of seemed to be his main advantage in this tournament, was he's literally just going to, never stop coming at you side to side until, basically that guy finally breaks and he gets a pass or whatever it takes to win. What do you guys think of 66, though?
Yeah, you want to talk about what makes an ADCC Trials winner, especially a 17-year-old ADCC Trials winner. Look no further than Dorian's face at the end of it. He had black and blue all over his face. He was bloodied up. That kid wanted to win, and he wasn't going to take no for an answer. He got through 2 ADCC veterans, Gianni Grippo in the quarters, then Ethan Krellinston in the semis, and then an all-out war with Dominic Mejia in the final. Dorian had 45 minutes of match time across 2 days, which is way more than a lot of the guys who we maybe pinned to win going into this. But, those, like we talked about on episode 1, episode 2, those teenagers are tough to beat, especially in the 66 division.
Dorian, I thought that was such a dog performance. You know what I mean? That was such a dig deep, be gritty performance in every single match. Yeah, beat Grippo, beat Krellinston, awesome match against Mejia in the finals. His loose passing is really incredible. It's going to be super tough to take this kid down. He clearly understands the rules very well. He has a lot of experience in the ADCC Opens. He was really, really, really well prepared for this event. And he's going to be a huge problem at Worlds.
Yeah, man, he just never stopped moving. Every single one of his matches, dude has an incredible gas tank, and he put it on everybody. So that was super fun to watch. Yeah, Dominic Mejia, also, a new star. I feel like that really emerged. Sure. I think we were all really high on the Corby brothers, watching them, and what he did to both the Corby brothers was pretty wild. Obviously Ethan and Keith, while they didn't win, they both had really great performances. They put in a lot of submissions early on, especially. So many submissions, man, at ADCC Trials. It was absolutely insane. But yeah, you got to give it to the kid Dorian Olivares, man. He looked great.
Were there any submissions at 66 that really pop out to you? One might be Ethan Krellinston with his Aoki lock. That was super crazy sick, right?
I do think Dominic Mejia versus Gavin Corby, that armbar he had was incredible. Insane, dude.
Yeah.
I want to shout out John Callistein's run too.
Oh yeah,
he didn't make it super far. I think he got to the quarters, but all the way through, so quick. His submissions were so quick that I couldn't run over to the mat fast enough to see what was happening before I saw him come out. I ran to the mat. It was over.
Yeah.
Every single time.
He had a bunch of hype matches for sure, and like you said, yeah, a bunch of 10-second matches. But he brought a crew out there, was rooting for him and stuff. That he was fun to watch, absolutely.
I want to point out
some
one
others.
thing about Dominic Mejia. Dominic, at one point, he was talking to me and Corey, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, he was so jacked up after
I
every
was like,
match."
I love when he was doing this,
Yeah,
like in
yeah.
the final. Like
Dude,
I was like,
he's
let's go,
exciting,
let's
bro.
go.
He's an
Yeah.
exciting guy. He yells stuff after he submits. You know, he talks the talk, but he also walks the walk. So I'm a big Dominic Mejia fan now for sure.
Yeah.
But he pointed out, he was like, "Yeah, I listened to you guys' little podcast. And you said I was a dark horse." And we were like, "Bro, that's a good thing, right? Didn't that mean we're kind of right?" Like and he's like, "Yeah, but you just talked about me for a little bit and then moved on. So let's give a dedicated Dominic Mejia session right here.
okay.
We're gonna talk.
Dominic Mejia
This is for you, Dominic.
session.
You earned it. You did earn it. We're
Yeah.
sorry we didn't talk long enough. So he was a stud. I thought one thing that was really impressive about him, obviously he was hunting subs, bringing it to everybody. As Greg Saunders said to him in the corner, he said, "You are, in fact, the man today. Congratulations." I think him and the Corby's got a little rivalry going from the opens.
Yeah.
But he took Oliveras down. I don't know if they got official. Maybe it wasn't in points.
No, it wasn't. It was early. It was
But,
early.
but he did take him down, which was kind of insane. I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
So
His wrestling really impressed me because, coming in, I would have definitely given that edge, like probably a little more heavily towards Oliveras. Like I know Dominic is like a pretty good wrestler, but that showed a level that was above what I thought he had.
yeah,
So his
Oliveras
wrestling
is like the wrestler who's coming to do this, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like, damn, if you actually took that kid down, that's impressive. So shout out Dom. Honestly, he's training at New Wave now. He's in Austin.
Yeah,
so.
only a couple months in, right? So I think
Yeah.
the future is extremely bright for him.
One thing about Dominic, real quick, that really impressed me was after he beat Keith, you and I chatted with him, and it was kind of his attitude, right? I was like, "You just beat Keith. How are you feeling?" And he's just like, "I don't know who that was." And it's not that he doesn't know who Keith Corrigan is. Of course he knows who Keith is, but in the moment, in the match, that guy is faceless. That is the guy standing in my way. And that's probably what allows him to take a guy like Dorian down or to beat a guy like Keith or to beat Gavin or DeAndre. Or, like, it's the attitude that I don't care who that is. That's nobody.
He was on Terminator mode.
Yep.
But and then Keith is another guy. Keith did have a great run, and I think
fourth place.
bro, if you count out Keith now at West Coast Trials, like you're a silly goose. Go ahead and jump in the water because I think Keith is going to be coming back for a vengeance, and I think he's got to be one of the favorites now at West Coast.
Johnny Grippo too. I seem like he'll be back. So yeah,
Ethan obviously.
Yeah, so 66 at West Coast Trials is going to be bananas.
I also think a lot of these guys, like I think if Dominic goes and places like second or third at West Coast, I think his chances of an invite are pretty good. You know what I mean?
With like matches like he has for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, you go out and you do that.
Yeah.
People are going to want to see you more.
Definitely. So a lot of good action at 66. Now let's move on to 77. What was overall thoughts at 77? We had Big Breakfast. Elijah Dorsey ended up getting the win. He's your 77 kilogram champion. Great performance by him. But overall, an incredibly exciting division. I don't know if there was a boring division, but I feel like 77 was maybe one of the most exciting. I don't know what you guys think. But.
Yeah, and 77 had a lot of the big names going in, right? Like Nicky Ryan, #1 seed. Oliver Taza was there. John Blank was there. So many ADCC veterans. And a lot of those guys made it through to the finals or the semifinals. But a lot of those guys got upset somewhere along the way. And I want to talk about Elijah, of course, because he upset a couple of people on the way to the final.
New star for sure.
Yeah. But to out wrestle Nicky Ryan in the final, to beat who did he beat in the semi?
Taza.
To beat Taza, take Taza's back in the semi after losing to Taza at one of the opens just a couple weeks before. Like Elijah, he was ready to come in. He was ready to take the match wherever it went. And man, he definitely put his name on the map.
I was really in the finals most impressed with his strategy. It looked like he played the rules really well. He played the point system really well. Kind of made Nicky fight his fight in most of those exchanges. And I thought that for someone who doesn't have, that was like, the finals were like his 14th ADCC match ever versus like some of these guys have so much more. For him to play it that well is a huge credit to him and how well he had prepared and planned out what he was going to do out there. It was really impressive on that level for me.
Talked to him right before the I talked to him right before the Nicky Ryan match, and he was saying that he really wanted to get that match back for Jamil from when they fought in 2019. So
sure.
I think he's definitely emerging new star. I think a lot of people start paying attention to him now. Very impressive wrestling, very impressive passing. I caught a couple of his matches going, way outside, off the mats like crazy. So he was scrapping out there. Fun guy to watch for sure.
One thing I want to say about that, I spoke to him after his win. And I asked him, Taza submitted you in the last time you saw him at the ADCC Open. What was the difference? Like, what made you get the better of Taza this time around? He said, I figured out that I can fight off the mats, and I trained for 3 weeks where we were intentionally going off the mats, going into the bleachers, going into
crazy.
And just knowing that he had that ability and he had to fight when the match left the mat was probably the difference maker for him in a lot of ways.
He had a sick off the mat moment, right?
Yeah,
Reed, you were up in there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I definitely followed him a couple times going off the mat, and those scrambles off the mat just get like, for some reason, when it goes off the mat and they keep scrambling, they just get like 10 times crazier. Like Elijah was like on his back, and then he was like in an arm bar, and then like in a guillotine, and then he had him it was it's wild.
So some people don't like the off the mat stuff. I do like it. I don't know what you guys' opinion on that is. I like that you can't game the out of bounds in any way. You know what I mean? You have to fight the position and keep going. I appreciate that it can be probably a little bit more dangerous. People getting slammed out there on the floor versus on a mat, probably not ideal. But especially for something like ADCC Worlds or Trials, like when it's pretty serious, I'm in favor of that.
Speaking at 77, speaking of matches that go off the mat,
I know someone who does like it.
Cody Steele, man, I don't think
hammer.
he has ever looked better than his performance at Trials here. Like he was showing off a lot of that wrestling, a lot of that energy, and I think as William and Andrew put it, right, he all of his MMA experience in the last couple of months, the last year, has just made Cody an animal.
You got a mean streak in him, is what William said.
What a beast.
Dude, Cody Steele has more off the mat highlights than your average grappler has on the mat highlights, bro. It's absolutely insane how much of Cody Steele's like action in a match takes place off the mats. Like there was obviously, it was day one, right? The William Tackett video where William shared a video.
Shout out William.
Yeah, I mean, videographer William Tackett like had the best video from Trials, to be honest. It's Cody like suplexes a dude off like to the edge of the mat, then they scramble some, and then it just creates this chaotic, like he's on his back, the other guy's on Cody's back, they're out of it, they scramble, Andrew Tackett's on top of him, just clapping like this because they're scrambling. That's
Zach Maslany's in the background.
It's going crazy. It's just like it's a who's who of just random.
That's what I'm saying. Like that was just a party of ADCC.
It was really cool.
Like whenever
cool,
the fans could get in there and start moving around and start making a schoolyard circle. Like man, that's what ADCC is about,
dude. 100%.
It felt like a real fight in those moments, big time.
And one of the craziest things about that situation specifically is Cody finished him off the mat. It never made its way back onto the mat. He ended up on the back with the choke and got the submission off the mats, which is absolutely insane. I was talking to Andrew about it afterwards, and I kind of gave a nod to Andrew's match with Damian last year at West Coast Trials, which was like, in my opinion, one of the craziest, probably best ADCC off the mat moments in history. And he was like, dude, Cody just beat it. Like that, Cody's submission off the mat was the number one, should go down in history off the mat moment. But then Cody followed up with some more off the mat stuff. That dude he refuses to grapple on a jiu-jitsu mat.
He just walks you down, right? Yeah. And so you have to move off the mat eventually.
Gets you in the corner, and then he throws you on your head on the carpet.
Yeah, it rules.
But I feel like we should talk probably a lot about Nicky Ryan.
Yeah,
also.
Nicky Ryan.
Yeah, 100%.
Nicky Ryan ended up with the silver medal. But I think one thing going into this was like a lot of people wondered like, oh, Nicky Ryan's conditioning, can he can he run through a trials? I think he completely proved that he can 100% make his way through one of these massive brackets. For one, he just submits everybody quick as hell and in a beautiful fashion.
He doesn't need to have cardio. He just submit everybody in less than a minute with a leg lock.
When you just have the nastiest jiu-jitsu, you're going to keep advancing. So I thought Nicky Ryan had great performance. What did you guys think?
Nicky is so technically efficient that he doesn't really have to not to take anything away, but he doesn't have to work that hard. Like he just does everything right and wears these guys out, and he's now with a bunch of 90-second or 2-minute submissions, taking him all the way through the bracket. And yeah, he looked great, just submitting everybody almost flawlessly, catching a heel hook when it was just really being opportunistic, catching whatever was there.
Yeah, we gassed up Cody a lot, obviously, but
Yeah.
Nikki ended up submitting Cody. And I thought the interesting thing about that was like, Cody's this crazy, in your face. He's going to make it dirty, not against Nikki Ryan. Nikki Ryan just nullifies that with like the most efficient, beautiful jiu-jitsu there is, and ended up getting the heel hook on Cody.
That was kind of a crazy heel hook too. If you go back, look the way his legs were kind of triangled around the body. Like you don't see that finish very often. So I thought that was a really interesting little Senkaku variation that Nikki was pulling off.
Yeah,
Go check it out.
So much momentum from Cody, right? And then for it to just kind of get halted by a guy like Nikki Ryan. Definitely tough match there in the finals. I think Nikki's those guys who just come at him kind of furiously passing and stuff like that does seem like something that maybe he's gonna run into again.
For sure.
Next time. It feels like that's kind of the way to do it a little bit against Nikki. So I think he's going to have guys playing the outside, playing that Rotolo passing and doing cartwheels and stuff like that, trying to get over him. So he will have to deal with that in the future probably.
It's also, while I'm talking technique here for a second, it's really interesting to me how much loose passing we saw at East Coast Trials compared to at European Trials. I feel like we saw a lot of tight passing, a lot of body locks, like Joe Chen was using that body lock so well. So I think that's something to keep an eye on, just how those two trials were kind of stylistically different.
We're going to miss some names here, but I do want to shout out a couple of the other guys that just went on absolute runs. It was a who's who division, so we're going to miss a couple, right? But Oliver Taza submitted everybody on the way to the semis.
Total
Kieran
dog.
Kachuk looked like a monster up until he met Nikki in the semis.
Yeah.
John Blank probably impressed me the most. He had, I think, like 3 minutes of total mat time in 5 matches. John Blank looked like a monster. And then he fell via heel hook to Cade Cedos, Nogi brown belt world champion Cade Cedos, who just, he's kind of been building his name up, doesn't compete a ton, but he definitely put his name on the map with that submission.
Also, Max Hansen.
Max Hansen.
You guys
Phenomenal.
Max Hansen.
John Combs hit a couple Comatines that were super slick.
Love John Combs.
Yeah.
Ernesto Rivera had a great tournament, I thought.
There's
I'll
plenty
put his
of guys.
name in there. There was 77 was so dynamic. So many guys with so many different styles. A lot of good wrestlers, a lot of good guard players. That there was just at certain points in the tournament, 77 would be out there, and you would just look around like you're in this crazy carnival of amazing grappling. It was ridiculous.
Nick Newell, another guy
Nick
we were
Newell.
watching. We had some fun watching him. That was cool.
Overall, though, just stacked division like every division in ADCC, to be honest with you. So let's go ahead and bump on up to the 88 kilogram division. This one might have ended up being kind of the story of the tournament.
It's a fun one.
To be honest, Jacob Couch ended up getting it done, punching his ticket to ADCC, and then Couch went absolutely banana lands after he won. I think we talked with Heath a little bit, and he talked, I've heard Couch talk about this too. If you see sometimes Couch wants to explode after a match and then he collects himself and he goes real stoic, I think that's like Heath's mentorship, trying to teach him to keep those emotions kind of regulated throughout. But I think he told him, if you get this one done, you can let it all out, Couch. You can be.
And he let it all out. He let it all out.
Just popped the top, dude. Tarps off, dude. Just started running around the mat.
Partied with everybody there. It was just a big party.
100%. It was so fun, dude. The place erupted. But yeah, he ended up getting it done. 88 kilogram champion Jacob Couch ended up getting the win over Elder in the finals, who Elder also looked great. But what did you guys think of Couch's performance?
Yeah, there's something about the 88 division in at least very recent history where those guys, despite how incredibly deep that bracket is, those guys go 7 out, right? Like Couch submitted everybody in his division, including 2 ADCC veterans, right? In semifinal, J-Rod, in the final, Elder Cruz, and that's such an impressive win for him because Elder was, I think, 2-0 or 3-0 against Couch going in, 3-0 against Couch going in. So to get that done when it mattered for Jacob Couch was just icing on the cake, I'm sure.
Every guy who punched their ticket to ADCC Worlds over the weekend either was an ADCC veteran or beat 2 ADCC veterans to do it.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's also true of European trials, except for Owen Jones, because someone else defeated the other ADCC veteran who was in his bracket.
Dude, just real quick on that. Think about some of these names that we now have in 66. Freaking Owen Jones, Dorian Oliveras, bro.
It's
Dominic,
crazy.
yeah, crazy.
These are going to have a fist fight out there.
Oh, man, I can't wait.
Yeah.
But back to just Couch real quick. Yeah, I think
2 purple belts.
Yeah, right. No, there's so much young talent already. But I feel like if Couch if you talk to Couch kind of, on Saturday or on Sunday, I feel like you really just saw like an attitude shift in him all weekend. Sometimes, when you're out there and you really want to win, you can get out, in your head and put a lot of pressure on yourself, but Couch was just the complete opposite this weekend. I felt like he was happy to be there. He was excited. He was smiling. He was having fun with the boys. Obviously, the Daisy Fresh crew keeps it fun and light and everything like that. The other guys had good runs too. Pixley looked good and stuff like that. But I just felt like Couch was just really living in the moment, having fun, cracking jokes, even right before we were standing over in the corner, even right before his match with Elder Cruz, he was still making jokes about how like he might cry if he wins and stuff like that. So
Might.
Might. He was making jokes about it, So I just felt like he was just in such a good headspace, and it totally translated on the mats.
Yep.
Absolutely. He was saying take it one match at a time, and he really lived that. He made that work for him, and he wasn't thinking about who his opponent might be next. He was just thinking about getting the submission done, and a lot of them were 40-something second submissions.
He's going to be such a wild card at Worlds. You know what I mean? Like, because I could see him having like an 0-0 Flanagan type of run where he just catches a couple nice positions, hits the right spot in the bracket, and have a lot of success there. I feel like that's definitely on the table.
And I feel like, man, obviously there was so many great leg lockers at that tournament, but Couch might be the best leg locker there.
Yeah,
number one spot.
He might have had it, right? He won with leg locks. He proved that he can do it even in the finals. So
you were talking about this a little bit earlier, but kind of a little resurgence of the straight ankle, huh? You noticing some of that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, Couch was out there straight ankle locking people. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of
guys there was a ton
that were as well. But yeah, I mean, they're fishing for heel hooks, and everybody is so good at defending heel hooks these days. It seems like, right? Everybody's got that defense. Everybody's been watching Danaher and the things that those guys have been doing, so they're hip to it
for sure.
So now they switch back to the straight ankle lock, and man, it was like brutal.
They've been watching Danaher and they've been watching Mateusz Szczynski, I feel like. Since that shotgun ankle grip has come in, it's become so much more of a lethal position, right? And so guys are able to, if you boot out on the heel hook to kind of keep safe there, great, man, you're just feeding the straight ankle now. And guys are playing like a dilemma there. Messed up.
What else in 88 impressed you guys?
Let's give a little love to Elder, right?
Absolutely.
Went and made the finals again at East Coast Trials. Always has such a good style here. Great wrestling. Goes to decision a lot as well, right? Always has to put in a lot of work in his matches. Clearly shows up really well prepared.
If someone's game resembles Dorian Olivares, it might be Elder Cruz.
Yeah, true.
Well, I want to shout out, I think, all 4 semifinalists, right? Because just look, when the semis were drawn, when the semis were drawn, you see 66, and you go, okay, there's 2 favorites in here. I know probably what it's going to be. I wasn't right? Dorian versus Dominic Mejia is not who I would have picked. But you look at 77, okay, there's 2 favorites in here. Again, I was wrong. 88, I can't make a prediction at 88. It's William Tackett, Elder Cruz, Jay Rodriguez, and Jacob Couch. That might be the best 4 guys maybe in the entire tournament, right? In packed in one division. Elder dominated everybody. William Tackett, I think, submitted everybody. J-Rod submitted everybody. Couch submitted everybody on the way there.
So
yeah, those 4 guys are animals. I think, and 3 of them now, 4 of them will be ADCC veterans, right? Tackett, ADCC 77, Elder, ADCC at 99, J-Rod 88, and now Couch at 88.
Dude, this is getting set up for the freaking J-Rod Revenge Tour at West Coast Trials, baby.
Yeah,
he did it last year. All subs got his purple belt. Is he going to do it again, get the brown belt? I don't know, but yeah, that's definitely a guy to keep an eye on at West Coast Trials.
For sure.
Yeah, that's it. J-Rod didn't want to win this one. He wanted to wait for the West Coast Trials.
Exactly.
That's his tournament.
That's his tournament. Sure. Yep. So you guys want to bump up to under 99 where we saw Paul Ardilla / Ardilla. I don't actually know.
I think it's Ardilla.
It's one L for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, so
that's right.
So I don't know.
Shout out, Paul.
Yeah. Shout out, Paul. Paul got it done. Won under 99. I think that's his 4th trials victory that he's won. So this dude's kind of the king of trials.
Yeah, Mr. ADCC Trials, Paul Ardilla. And, people sleep on Paul, and I think it's maybe people sleep on him because this is the one tournament he does every year. And then, of course, ADCC because he punches his ticket there. We don't see him very often on the scene. And so I think a lot of people forget how relevant he is. But the man, like, he didn't come out and win. Like, he submitted 5 of his 6 opponents. That's not easy to do in that division, especially.
I feel like, good, Joe.
I was going to say it's smart. He's a lawyer. He knows to keep it away from the judges.
Yeah, man, I just feel like he's a little bit of like the boogeyman of that division.
For
You
sure.
know, like nobody wants to fight him really. Everybody wants to be on the other side of the bracket. Probably, I saw him, like getting taps before he was really even completing submissions. Guys are just that
Yeah, he's
afraid
brutal with it.
of his heel hooks, his leg locks and stuff. People just were staying far away from it. So he's a little bit of a boogeyman in that division. And yeah, man, props to him. Who else can go out there and say that they've won the ADCC East Coast Trials or the trials 4 times? That's pretty incredible.
After 2024, he'll be a 5-time ADCC veteran. Who else is a 5? Like Andre Galvao, Gordon Ryan? I don't know.
Marcelo,
The list is
yeah,
small.
yeah. It's not very many people.
It's insane.
So shout out to him, man. That is an incredible accomplishment for sure.
Anybody else in under 99 that kind of stood out or anything you guys noticed?
I thought Alex Grandy, especially picking up a win over Devontae,
Absolutely.
was really impressive. He was somebody that I don't know how many people had circled coming in. He had a great performance, punching his way all the way to the finals before he met Ardilla and Paul. And yeah, 10th Planet with another super tough guy.
For sure.
Michael Pixley had a good run coming in. Of course, Adam Bradley stomped that right out. Adam Bradley is just kind of climbing the ranks there.
Yeah, it feels like that's maybe a good division for Adam Bradley as well. Surprised to not see, surprised to not see Devontae in the final, but just goes to show how good Alex Grandy is. Yeah,
For sure. Devontae with the bronze. Shout out to Bones.
So let's bump up to over 99 then. So this is obviously Big Dan. Big Dan Monasoyu got his ticket punched. Obviously, he was super stoked. Big Dan, you don't see a lot of reactions out of that guy until he wins trials, and then you get to see a big
That's
reaction.
a big
So
one.
Last year, European trials, he had a big reaction. He hugged Luke and stuff, and then this one, he let everybody like you actually didn't even know there was a submission. It was very hard to see Damon tap, but then you hear Big Dan yell, "Yeah!" first to let everybody know there was a submission. But he ended up getting the sub in the finals. He looked great the whole time. What do you guys think of over 99 and Big Dan?
What a resurgence from Big Dan, who went out to European trials and just was not having his best day. Right, he lost to Heike Jusela in the final. But even before that, I was talking with him, and he was kind of disappointed in himself for how few submissions he got on the way there. And then you see Big Dan come back to East Coast Trials, arguably a harder tournament, and submit. Every single person looked dominant, looked like he belongs at ADCC. ADCC veteran, of course, but this was, if he struggled at European trials, he excelled at East Coast Trials.
Big time. This was that I don't know if we talked about it too much coming in, but I felt like there was a lot of pressure on Big Dan to come in and win this, because if he starts dropping multiple ADCC trials, like especially if he got to the finals or something, then it was going to start to raise questions about him in the fans' minds, fair or not. And I feel like he was able to snuff all that out, turn in the exact kind of performance he needed to. He really excelled, and he's going to be at Worlds again.
a return to form.
A return to form. There you go.
One quick stat about Big Dan here. He has competed in just 4 ADCC trials in his career. He's been to the final 4 times. He's won the final twice. That's monstrous. Nobody does that except for Paul Ardilla.
Except for unless you're Paul Ardilla.
Yep, Big Dan looked great. Like I said, I did agree. I think that there was a lot of pressure on him. Was the blueprint out there to how to beat Dan? He kind of shut that down for sure. Damon looked great. Beat John Hansen right in the semis.
Yeah, with a crazy little just the classic reverse X cross Ashi entry. Ended up heel hooking him, just like a super well practiced situation.
And John was looking good. John Hansen was looking very good up until that point. I think a lot of us were picking him to do well.
It's wild to see him pull guard. Because you watch him go out there, and John's like such a big physically nicest guy, by the way, big physically imposing dude. Comes out there. Looks like he's just gonna smash you through the table that they've provided for him for this exact purpose. And then he just sort of slinks to his butt and starts playing like a very sophisticated guard. Like it really is surprising.
I like the way Paul Ardea pulls guard. Like it's very kind of like inconvenient. He's kind of like, give me.
Yeah, like he's like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean this in the best way possible. For some reason, Paul Ardilla's vibe is just like he's like an old guy getting out of a chair.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I guess I'll come hang out with you.
You're
you know?
making me win trials again. Okay.
Okay, I guess I'll submit this guy. you
A
know?
real 2 tries to get off the couch kind of situation.
But you mentioned Damon Ramos real quick. Damon Ramos did have an incredible run. I feel like he's a guy who goes under the radar a little bit. Like he's always right there with ADCC stuff. He's been in multiple trials finals, right?
Yeah,
East
against
Coast
Big
last
Dan.
year,
Yeah.
I think.
He was
But-
invited last year too.
Yeah, so
He
he had a
eventually
match
got
with
the
Nicky
invite.
Rod first round. But that kid's an absolute beast, and that submission he had on John Hansen was like very, very impressive because John Hansen is like, I mean, Big Dan or John Hansen had to have been the favorite, you know. But Damon Ramos is a beast of a dude for sure. Probably a guy who should we should talk to old Uncle Ricky and try to see if we can get this dude on
It's
his
on the
one
table.
at some point,
It's
you
on the
know.
table.
But so he had a great tournament. John Hansen had a great tournament. Anyone else that stood out to you guys over 99?
Over 99, I think all eyes were on Big Dan.
Yeah,
like, not
it
to
really
take away
was.
from anybody else, but it was kind of he was getting it done so quickly and so dominantly that's kind of where all the attention was right out of the gate. Quick thing just to bring up for what it's worth. Elijah and Big Dan both turned 22 when they received their gold medals. Well, not when it, but on the day they won finals, they both turned 22.
Happy birthday, boys.
Yeah. Jacob Couch, I think is 20. Jake Couch is 23, right?
Maybe.
Somewhere
Under
there.
Who
25
knows?
for sure.
Dor-
Under 25.
Dorian, 17 years old. Paul Ardilla, 32.
Let's go.
So man, he got a
Shout out.
9-year weight gap.
Yeah.
It's still getting it done. Or
Nice.
9-year
That's one
age
age
gap.
gap,
Still
yeah,
getting it done.
Yeah, from 30-year-olds.
Get it done for the old guys, the ancient dudes, the 32-year-olds.
Yep. Not
The
not
old
me.
guys.
I'm down there hanging with Couch and the boys. And
All right,
Elijah,
all
Big
right.
Dan, you know. But so yeah, those are all the people that punched their ticket. They now will be invited to the ADCC World Championships. But there was also 3 women's divisions took place. The women in this scenario get a ticket to West Coast Trials, a free flight,
Flight,
all
hotel,
that. And
registration.
I heard them saying too that I think they all get the number 1 seed, right, in the West Coast Trials bracket.
Mhm.
So we can go through the women's brackets here. So let's start at plus 65. Amanda Levy ended up taking home the gold plus 65. What do you guys think
What-
about her run?
Did it like it was no thing, right? She, I think, proved herself to just kind of be the class of the field, submitted her way through 4 I think it was. She really looked incredible.
I gotta double check the stat, but I know it was remarkably low. I think 3 minutes of total mat time in 4 matches.
That might be a record, or at least
Yeah.
not since for a long time has that been matched.
Of note with Amanda, I was talking with her after her win. She said, "Yeah, I just I live close by. Kind of came down to get it done." I was like, "Are you going to West Coast Trials?" We'll see.
Oh my
God.
But just there to be there. Submitted her way through the bracket
Yeah.
with
She's
apparent
focused on
ease.
MMA now, right? That's her main thing.
For people who don't remember Amanda, she is the girl that defeated Gabby at
Who's in
who's number 1 championship. Yeah.
ADCC veteran herself.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
on West
huge
Coast Trials
coming out
back.
party for her there. She's been, of course, been on the scene for a while, the grappling scene, but I think, really on fans' radars when she beat Gabby Garcia at Who's in One Championships, and I think she's really coming into her own now as an elite grappler. She was kind of clearly head and shoulders above a lot of these girls that she went out and competed against. So she's really kind of proving herself to be that kind of upper echelon of female grapplers. So cool to see her coming around for sure. Hope she does West Coast, or at least
For
hope
sure.
she
Of
gets
course.
hope she gets the invite or whatever, because she definitely deserves to be in that elite group.
And then under 65, we saw in the finals Helena Cravar, the teenage phenom, going up against Mo Black, where Mo Black was able to get the win.
What a performance for Mo Black just to come out. I think everybody had their eyes on Helena Krivar as this, almost a foregone conclusion. And Mo Black came in, spoiled the party, reminded everybody just how good she is, and put her name on the map along with the Helena Krivars of the world. And 65 is a tough division, and Helena was working her way through it pretty damn powerfully. And Mo Black came out, spoiled the party, out wrestled Helena. Maybe not a surprise. She out wrestled everybody else leading up there.
Yeah, huge story. I think for Mo to go out there and beat Helena. Obviously, Helena has a lot of buzz right now. She's very young, but she looks incredible. Her jiu-jitsu is top tier for sure. We know that. Nobody really wants to fight her, to be honest, right? Like, there's not a lot of girls who are kind of signing up to be in that division against Helena. A lot of pressure to fight, a girl so young, but also somebody who's so dominant. But Mo Black didn't shy away. She went head first, and really dictated the pace of that finals match. And yeah, incredible performance from Mo Black for sure.
It definitely seemed like a lot of the win came down to the strategy, right, and the ability to execute on that strategy. They fought before in a submission only thing, a submission only fight, and Helena won that. This was the rematch, and Mo was able to use the ADCC rule set to her advantage. It's not a jiu-jitsu tournament; it's a submission grappling tournament, right? It's a little different.
Guard.
Helena sat guard.
That really opened up the avenue for Mo Black and say, okay, now I have my avenue to win here. Let's make it happen. So yeah, tactics ended up being a big deciding factor.
Which could end up being a very constructive loss for Helena. We could be looking back at this in a year when she's, doing well at ADCC, saying like, okay, she learned from this experience, but she's got to learn from this experience, right?
Yep. On her way there, Helena, of course, submitted every single person via armbar. No, she had a rear naked choke in there, but via some very, very fundamental submissions. I think that's very much Helena's way. I was really impressed by Sofia Delgado, who Mo beat in the semifinal. And then Trinity Pun came out and was submitting her way through until she lost in the quarters, I think.
To Ashlyn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk under 55 now. Under 55, we saw Jasmine Rocha versus Alex Enriquez in the final. So obviously that was an exciting final. What do you guys think of that one? Alex Enriquez ended up getting the win. She became the under 55 champion, but what do you guys think?
Alex had a story kind of similar to Jacob Cowish in that the person she fought and beat in the final was kind of her, her nemesis coming in. Jasmine held 2 wins over Alex going into this. And they met in the quarterfinal of West Coast Trials last year, which is a big one. They had a very similar looking match. In that match, Jasmine got the nod. So this time Alex came in and did a couple things differently, kind of played some strategy and definitely put on the attack a little bit more toward the end and sealed the deal.
Kind of crazy, Alex in the semifinals being matched up against her own fiance, right? That's got to be probably a first for an ADCC trials, right? Really wild. But then, yeah, in the finals, I thought she had great pressure. I thought she had great pace. I thought that Jasmine went in the overtime to shoot to pull, right? The ADCC trick, you shoot for 3 seconds, you pull. I thought that as she was doing that, Alex was able to establish a really, really strong position off of that and really helped her dictate those final few minutes. And I think that ended up being really, really impactful in the decision.
Yeah, maybe the closest match of the finals for sure. Very, very, both girls very, very closely matched. I think both girls had good runs up to the finals. And Alex has been around the scene for a little while. She's always been trying to kind of punch her ticket to that next level and hasn't really been able to get there. So happy to see her kind of finally punch through to that next level and be able to get the #1 seed at least at the West Coast Trials. I'm sure that they will probably rematch each other again at West Coast Trials. So we'll get to see it again. I'm sure both girls are going to be working hard to get the invite.
Yeah, so that's a wrap on all the champions and stuff, Incredible event overall. Is there any other final takeaways you guys got? Anything you want to say? Any takeaways from the event?
These ADCC Trials events, especially the ones organized by Mo, just get more and more wild. The fans are more and more into it. I thought it was really cool. Like, I don't know how exactly, but the fans were definitely engaged when, like, all right, points comes on, and
that ruled.
Points. Everybody else is shouting points. Like it just there's a certain degree of intelligence in the fans outside that, like, we know what we're watching.
Yeah. When Helena pulled guard, there was kind of like a ooh, like everyone knew, like, okay, that's like.
I think if you get an opportunity to go to a trials event and you're into jiu-jitsu, obviously, like, go to a trials event. It is worth it.
No question.
Even go to the opens, honestly. If you're if you just like competing, you like doing jujitsu, whatever, but like you're not trying to be a freaking world class athlete like most of us, just go to an open, compete, have fun. You know, those look great. The trials, go watch as a fan. It's incredible.
T-Mobile
time.
Center.
T-Mobile Center, ADCC 2024. You should be there. If you're not there, then I don't know what you're doing. But yeah, overall, super exciting. Super stoked for the next one. I think up next we're gonna have Asian trials in Singapore. I don't know if we're gonna make it out there, but we're gonna be watching. We're gonna be giving our thoughts and making some dope content around it. But you guys can go right now, leave a comment on this video, drop a like, you know, subscribe, tell your friends, get hyped up for the ADCC season because it's here. It's exciting. There's a lot more great jiu-jitsu to come. So we'll see you guys in the next one.
Woo!